Every decision you make, from buying a cup of tea to choosing a career, is controlled by one invisible force: economics. It decides prices, controls markets, moves governments, and shapes your future. But here's the surprising part. Economics isn't just about money, it's about choices, and those choices define everything. Foundational economics: scarcity and choice. Economics begins with one simple truth. Resources are limited, but human wants are unlimited. This problem is called scarcity. Because of scarcity, we must choose, and every choice has a cost. This cost is called opportunity cost. If you choose to watch a movie, you give up study time. If you buy a phone, you give up something else you could have bought. Economics says there is no free lunch. Now imagine a world without trade. Everyone grows their own food, makes their own clothes, builds their own house. It would be inefficient. Instead, people specialize. This is called comparative advantage. If you are better at coding and someone else is better at farming, both of you benefit by trading. Specialization increases productivity. Trade increases wealth, and economies begin to grow. Markets and price. But who decides the price of things? The government, companies, or something else? The answer is the market. Markets run on two forces: supply and demand. When demand is high, prices rise. When supply is high, prices fall. This balance creates equilibrium price. Adam Smith called this the invisible hand. No one controls the market, yet everything finds balance. When petrol becomes expensive, people use less. When prices drop, people buy more. Incentives guide behavior, and markets adjust automatically. Money and banking. Money is one of humanity's greatest inventions, but money is just paper. It has value only because we trust it. This makes money a social agreement. Before money, people used barter, but barter had problems. Money solved this by becoming a medium of exchange, a store of value, a unit of account. But here's where it gets interesting. Banks don't just store money, they create it. This system is called fractional reserve banking. When you deposit 1,000 rupees, the bank keeps only a fraction and lends the rest. That loan becomes someone else's deposit, which gets loaned again. This process creates more money in the economy. Banks literally create money. Measuring the economy, GDP. How do we measure a country's economy? Using GDP, Gross Domestic Product. GDP measures the total value of goods and services produced. If production increases, GDP grows, and growth means a stronger economy. But GDP has problems. Imagine Meena. She cooks, cleans, and takes care of children at home. Her work has value, but since she isn't paid, GDP ignores it. Now imagine pollution. Factories increase GDP, but damage the environment. GDP counts the growth, not the damage. So GDP measures size, but not always well-being. Inflation and taxes. Have you noticed things getting more expensive every year? That's inflation. Inflation reduces purchasing power. Today, 100 rupees buys less than it did 5 years ago. Inflation is called the silent thief because it slowly steals value from your savings. Now let's talk about taxes. Governments need money to build roads, schools, hospitals. They collect this through taxes. There are two main types: direct taxes, income tax, indirect taxes, GST. When governments spend more than they earn, they borrow money. They issue government bonds. This creates fiscal deficit. Too much deficit can increase inflation. International trade and finance. No country can produce everything.
so countries trade. India exports IT services. Middle East exports oil. China exports electronics. This is globalization. But trade involves currencies. This creates the forex market. Currencies rise and fall based on demand. If the rupee weakens, imports become expensive. Exports become cheaper. Currency depreciation affects everything. Now let's enter the world of finance. You can invest in stocks, ownership in companies, bonds, lending money, mutual funds, pooled investments. But there's a rule. Higher return means higher risk. This is the risk-return trade-off. Safe investments give low returns. Risky investments give higher returns. Every investor must choose based on risk tolerance. Behavioral economics. Traditional economics assumes humans are rational, but real life is different. Humans make emotional decisions. We prefer money today over more money tomorrow. This is hyperbolic discounting. We also hate losses more than we like gains. This is loss aversion. Behavioral economics studies these irrational choices. Understanding psychology helps understand markets. Economic systems. There are different ways to run an economy. Capitalism, markets decide everything. Socialism, government controls resources. Communism, no private ownership. Most countries use a mixed economy. India is one example. Markets drive growth, government ensures fairness. This balance shapes modern economies. Economics isn't just theory, it's reality. It decides prices, jobs, investments, and your future. Once you understand economics, you understand the world. Because behind every decision, there's an economic force quietly shaping your life.